This is the 1979 AMC Spirit AMX, specifically my 1979 AMC Spirit AMX, and it is a very, very cool car. Well, currently, it's a very, very cold car because it's covered in 6 inches of snow. But I think there's a lesson to be learned from this 1979 AMC Spirit AMX, and it's something that Dodge should take to heart, that Chrysler, Stellantis, whatever you want to call yourselves, should learn a lesson from with this vehicle right now, and what should be done in the very, very near future to make Dodge, Chrysler, Stellantis, whatever you want to call yourselves, interesting again. This is a 2023 Dodge Challenger Hellcat. It is a very, very fast car. It is also a very, very big car. It's a very, very powerful car. But it has the potential to be even cooler than it currently is. You see, back in the olden days, when AMC wanted to make a cool sports car, what they did is they took a normal car they already had, the AMC Javelin, and they cut it down a little bit. They made it shorter. They made it two-seater. They took the back seats out of it. They left a big motor in the front of it. They left a stick shift in it, and they didn't over-engineer the project. They just made a smaller, cooler, lighter weight version and let the racers go do the racing. There wasn't anything that they needed to re-engineer because they already had pretty decent bones. And those original AMXs in the late 60s and early 70s were out there on the Trans Am circuit tearing it up with the Mustangs and the Corvettes and the Camaros and the Firebirds and the Cudas and everything else. All the other stuff that you used to see in that Trans Am series, those AMXs were going toe-to-toe with them and a lot of times beating them. And I think Dodge could do something very, very similar with this. You don't need to re-engineer much of any of it. What you need to do, and if there's anybody out there, Dodge, I'll give you this one for free. Just make it shorter and make it lighter. Take like 1.5 feet out of the middle of this thing. Take the back seats out of it, because they're really only there for insurance purposes only. Take the back seats out of it, make it shorter, lose a little bit of weight, and make it the brand new AMX. You already own the American Motors brand. When you wanted to buy Jeep, you already own the American Motors brand. What you need to do is you need to build something like this, but make a smaller and less expensive version for the enthusiasts that are out there to give us something to buy other than Mustangs. Right now, with GM getting rid of the Camaro, and the Firebird is already dead long ago, we have nothing left in the automotive space that's fun to drive, that's built here in the United States. And what better branding do you need than American Motors? It's time to focus on America stuff if you haven't figured that out right now. And a brand new AMX is absolutely the way you do it. In Dodge, you have the bones. You don't need to reinvent anything. Use the rear differential out of this. Keep the independent rear suspension out of this. It's kind of annoying, but you can leave it alone. We don't need you to change anything. If you want to put a solid rear axle in it, okay, that's fine. But leave it independent. That's fine. You've already done all the engineering here. Well, Mercedes did most of the engineering, but you know what I mean. It's already here. You don't need to change much of any of this stuff. Please change the styling a little bit. But leave the majority of the car alone. Big brakes. Love it. You know what's even better about big brakes on a smaller car? They work even better. You take 800 pounds out of this thing by putting it on a diet and making it a little bit shorter. Imagine how much cooler these cars would be. You don't need to re-engineer anything with the transmission because it already came with an automatic or with a manual 3-pedal setup. Don't need to change anything. There's no engineering. There's no R&Ding. All you got to do is make it smaller and make it something that's in like the $40,000 to $60,000 price range. Dude, what else can you say? It makes a lot of sense. Put it in the same category as a Mustang. Because there's a lot of us that are out there. And listen, I am a Mustang guy. I have owned Mustangs in my life, and I love my Mustang. However, not everybody wants to buy a Mustang. A lot of people like to own something else, myself included. I like buying things that are odd. I like owning things that are different. And I think Chrysler specifically should pay attention to this right now. It is not a good time in the Chrysler brand. It is not. As they get rid of the Hemi in general, and they are really, really searching for some kind of brand identity, I think bringing back American Motors, and specifically starting with an AMX, is a great idea. And the neat thing is, you don't even have to use the big, nasty motor that's in this thing. You don't you don't have to use the 6.4, the 6.2. You can put a normal just 5.7 liter Hemi in this thing. Make 400 horsepower in a lightweight rear-wheel drive car is a ton of fun. Ton of fun. It doesn't need to make 700 horsepower. It doesn't need to make 1,000 horsepower. Make 400 horsepower in an affordable rear-wheel drive American car. Beautiful. Actually, in that case, I'd probably also like to see the live rear axle would be kind of nice. And with limited slip as a standard option. Not as an option, a standard option. But I think it's a great idea. And I know. I'm a nutball and I like AMC stuff. So I'm a little bit biased. But I do want to see Chrysler come back. I do want to see something fun being built in America again. I do enjoy these cars. And they are hilarious for being able to do big smoky burnouts. And they're comfortable, reasonably so. But they don't really fit in a market right now for the enthusiast car. And if we're honest, they also do have a little bit of a reputation as being a Hooligans vehicle, if you know what I mean. But if you think it's too big and it's too heavy, it could be better by just making it smaller and putting it on a diet. I know that sounds weird. And I know America right now does not want to buy muscle cars. It does not want to buy sports cars. But that's also because we don't build them anymore. If you look around the world, if you look around the car industry as a whole, everywhere else is building cool, small cars other than us. Japan builds them. Korea builds them. All over Europe, they build all of them. We don't do that here in the United States. Sports cars are our thing. It's our passion. Enjoying V8 rear-wheel drive fun cars is literally what we are. That is the American way of things. And we don't build them anymore, other than the Mustang. Are you going to just give up because the Mustang still exists? There is still a market out there. There are still people out there that want to buy this stuff. But you got to get out of your own way and you got to build stuff that we actually want. The other cool thing is, aside from the fact that you could just power this thing with a 5.7, and we're going to say this thing is the new AMX, it's going to need some styling changes. But you could put the inline 6 in this thing. That brand new Hurricane motor that you guys have got out and that you're pushing right now into the industry, great. Put an inline 6 in it. AMC has an incredible history with the inline 6. Like, probably more history than just about anybody else out there. So put a Hurricane in it. Make it an inline 6. If you want to get rid of the Hemi and get rid of V8s, fine. The brand to do it in is AMC. Because AMC has a huge, huge history with the inline 6. And if you want to make that thing fun and you want to show that it's capable of being an enthusiast's motor, what you need to put it in is not something this big. You need to put it in something that's 2/3 scale. I think it makes a ton of sense. Dodge, I doubt you're paying attention. But if you are paying attention, this is a free one for you. I think this is a part of the market that you are not paying attention to and that most people don't even realize is really, really there. But I, and my gray beard of wisdom, think that there is actually a market for this. Now, yes, you're going to have to do a little bit of shaking with the people. You're going to have to get out there and reintroduce people to the excitement and enjoyment of driving. And there are definitely going to be some issues culturally and generationally with this. You're going to be up against a couple of things. But if you can be the company that reinvigorates the enjoyment of driving in the American auto buying culture, I think you're onto something pretty big. And think of all the interesting things that you could do with this. Once you start bringing that back and you start getting people that are interested in your brand, it could be a major, major selling technique for other vehicles. And I'm not saying that you need to bring the entire AMC world back. There's probably plenty of things you don't need to bring back. But if you're going to have something like Chrysler that's still alive and basically just building minivans, why can't you build something that's AMC and just builds fun cars? You've got all of the technology, all of it right here. Everything you could possibly need is right here. Learn the lesson of AMC originally. They didn't reinvent much of anything. They didn't even do a lot of their own R&D. They bought technology. They licensed technology. They learned from other manufacturers because they didn't have the money to be able to build big stuff and spend big money like the big guys did. So they learned how to be scrappy. They learned how to be stretch a dollar. They learned all of those lessons because they didn't have another option. They wanted to go out and have fun. They wanted to go out and compete with the big boys. So they had to figure out the ways to do it on a shoestring budget. And Stellantis, I hate to tell you this, but right now you guys are kind of on a shoestring budget. You can't make any more big screw ups lately because otherwise you're... So take this, take 2 feet out of it, pull out the back seats, and give me a new AMX. I think it's an excellent idea, and I bet you I'm not the only person out there that thinks so. You don't need to re-do anything. You don't, other than the styling. But everything else you've already got here, it's perfect. Don't worry about it. We don't need fancy infotainment centers. We don't need park it by yourself. We don't need self-driving. We don't need any of that stuff. Most of us don't even want it, much less need it. Just give me one of these things, smaller, 400 horsepower, great. Maybe you make an extra super duper AMX and call it whatever you want. Maybe the Rebel, also a good name. Make it a 700 horsepower version. If you really want to do that, great, go for it. Make a couple of different options to be able to, focus on different markets as far as that kind of thing goes. And if you want to be able to make a high optioned version, bring back Levi Strauss. Make an AMX Levi edition. Hey. It makes sense. I know you don't want to admit it, but it makes sense. And it could be super, super cool. I think Chrysler should pay attention to this. So if you happen to know anybody at Chrysler, or if you work at Chrysler yourselves, pass this along to them. Share them this video. Put it on your Chrysler forum and let somebody else flame me. Let me think that I'm an idiot. But I bet you I'm onto something here. And I think there's a lot of other people out there that would be interested in it as well. There are a lot of people like me that are not interested in these cars and that are not interested in American new cars in general because they just don't click our boxes. They don't inflame passions. They don't get us excited. And they're too damn expensive and too damn complicated. This thing particularly. You'll see a video about this on the main Lucor channel in the coming up days as we get the alignment set up on this thing because it's a nightmare. But remove a lot of the dumb stuff that we don't need. The things that are not mandated to be on our vehicles. And just give us a stripped down, fun street car. Doesn't have to be able to make 15 or an 8-second pass in a quarter mile. It doesn't need to be able to do that. Just start with something simple and let the aftermarket make it better. The aftermarket has already taught you that this Hemi product can do all kinds of things. You don't need to go up to a 6.2 liter or a 6.4 liter to make crazy power. Stay with the 5.7 and put a supercharger on it. More than enough power for something that's in the 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 pound range. It's more than enough power. And then let the aftermarket do it from there. Make it adjustable. Make it interesting. Make it something that people can actually customize and turn into what they want to make it. Don't make it crazy expensive. Build a culture around it. And I bet you could sell a ton of these things. And you could be seen as the savior of the automotive community in the United States. Because I promise you, there's a lot of us out here that are suffering and wishing there was something in the market that we could buy. Because right now, there just isn't. Dodge, if you're paying attention, I'm available for consulting. Slide into my DMs. Let's have a conversation. Otherwise, thank you guys for being here. I truly do appreciate you. What do you think about the new AMX? Wouldn't it be cool to see? I know, I'm probably a little bit nuts, and it's probably not going to happen, but we can dream together, right? We can think about it. Think how cool that would be if we took one of those and made it something new. Also, don't kill me because my race car is sitting outside in the snow and doesn't have windows in it. I know, I got a lot of work to do before it's ready to go on track. We'll get to that in another episode. This is Automotive Adventures with Austin, my own little personal corner of the YouTube internets, where I work on stuff on the afternoons, weekends, evenings, when I'm not doing my main stuff here at Lucor Automotive. Let me know what you guys think. I do truly appreciate you being here. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, this is just kind of my automotive ramblings. Click on the subscribe button. I do a lot of rambling. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care. I love you. Bye-bye.